Hello and welcome back. For those who don't know, I'm actually a full-time solo game dev, and so I also love Slay the Spire so much that a lot of my card design creativity blends into Slay the Spire as well. I end up making custom cards. So these videos are just a way to share the designs that I've worked on, and I want to make this video to ask if people are interested. I could try and put these into a mod so you could test out all the cards I've made in the game. Let me know if you're interested in that, or if you like these kinds of videos. Otherwise, we're just going to jump right into it. So Harden, the name's a placeholder. Really, I'm just interested in the design of the cards. This one says whenever anyone loses HP, gain one block next turn. So that's you, that's opponents. I guess in multiplayer it would be teammates. Just a lot of cool ways to get block. This card started out with the incentive of like whenever you attack or play an attack card, gain block. But that felt a little bit narrow, and it felt very much like the Silence After Image card, but kind of worse. And I realized when you attack, the enemy loses HP. And so that's a like kind of a clever way to tie in wanting to attack, but then we also have a self-damage theme in the Ironclad. So this now works when you're attacking them, this works when you're hurting yourself, this works when you're taking damage, like if they hit you during your turn, which is kind of the Ironclad's favorite thing. And so it turns all of these different cards into a unique way to gain block that in a way that feels really active. I think I love the current rares that give you block on the Ironclad. My only problem with them is they're both quite passive, and the Ironclad is like, he's a dude who likes to attack. So, if you were to put it in the game, I guess replacing one of those with this, just to get a little bit more active, synergistic type block could be interesting. But it's just cool that like Sword Boomerang could block for 3, upgrading it could block for 4. Inferno's cool because it does damage to you, which gives you block, but then like whenever you hit enemies, you get block. And then this turns like if you play Bloodletting with Inferno, right? Bloodletting loses you HP, so you gain a block. Then Inferno will trigger and hit the enemies, and that will cause them to lose life, so then you'll gain block. So it's like this really cool, it feels very Ironclad themed block engine. The reason it says next turn is mostly to prevent infinite with Juggernaut. I know this is the same templating as self-forming clay, but this feels unique enough. There's a lot of relics that basically do what the character already does, but this feels unique enough that it's different than self-forming clay because it also triggers on like when you hit enemies. But yeah, the infinite prevention is there just because going infinite with Juggernaut's not particularly fun. And also feels more Ironclad themed because you can't block like turn 1 with this. You have to wait a little bit to be able to actually like get block going with it. I could see the upgrade giving innate instead of costing 1. There's a lot of different directions to go with this, but that feels kind of overdone. So I feel like just keeping it as is very Ironclad themed. Next one, not necessarily a rework of Eidolon. I'm just using the art because finding custom art is really hard. So this one says, at the end of your turn, play all ethereal cards in your hand. It just upgrades to be cheaper. So the motivation behind this, there's a couple different things, but really it's kind of a way, like a lot of the fun designs that I enjoy the most, take a drawback and turn it into a benefit. Ethereal cards already do something at the end of your turn. Normally they leave your deck. And that can feel like a drawback. Sometimes it's a positive when you don't want to like redraw fear, but in general, it's like the card goes away. And so this card is flipping that, where instead of going away, you actually get to play it. So taking like the weakness of ethereal cards and turning it into something you're excited to do, I think it's a really interesting flip and could lead to some fun gameplay. The other thing it does is it turns a lot of these early game like ethereal enablers like Fear and Sculpting Strike into pretty playable cards late game. Like you take Fear, whatever, it gives you some vulnerable, gets you through Act 1. And then late game with Unbound, it kind of costs 0. And that's pretty cool. And it synergizes with like the ethereal thing, synergizes with souls like filling your hand up. And it gives Necrobinder a proactive thing to do. Because I think a lot of her rares are reactive and block. This is a very proactive card. So it seems very fun. One thing I will say is if that ends up being too strong, which it definitely could be, I think making them exhaust when they get played this way could be more thematic and a good balancing knob to tune. we could also, instead of making it cheaper when it upgrades, maybe the base version exhausts and the upgrade doesn't. There's a lot of different knobs to tune, but there's no way to know without playing it in game. So let me know which of these two you like more. This one is obviously way stronger. Could be too strong because you're just playing, you could play 9 cards for free every turn if you wanted. But it seems fun and worth trying. This is yet another rework of Iron Wave. Commons are kind of boring in terms of like showcasing, but I think common design is very fun. Draining Strike or Iron Wave specifically bugs me because it's so bad in the late game. And I think this is a design that makes it kind of worse early game because healing HP and gaining block early game are similar, but healing HP gets so much better in the late game because once you're able to full block, this just becomes like icing on the cake. The fact that it exhausts is both balancing against gaining infinite HP, but also gives you some early exhaust synergies, so there's a reason to take it there. So overall, I would love to see this in the game instead of Iron Wave. Like, it goes well with self-damage, it would scale well into the late game. Like, I would not be mad having like 4 of these in my deck by the end of the run. So yeah, I would love to see that. And then these are 2 cards that are mostly for fun. I don't think they're balanced, and I think the costs, I basically, Neutron Aegis gives you 8 plating, and I was like, what could be more fun than that? So came up with these 2. We'll look at Duplicity first. Whenever you create a card, create an additional copy. I mean, it would just be fun. The fun thing is, with all the random generation, if you made something bad, you would get 2 copies of the bad card. Like, it's not a re-trigger, it's the same card, which I think is fun, kind of funny. If you got a good card, like, it kind of min-maxes your low rolls are lower and your high rolls are higher. Also just really good with all the minion dive bomb type stuff. All around fun. This one is more interesting. Whenever you create a card, play it. And it's forced. So if you create a card that you don't want to play, too bad. I think it has an interesting interaction with Crash Landing, because you fill your hand with debris and immediately play the debris. That would be kind of a fun little interaction. It turns Quasar into kind of a powerhouse, because you just get it for free. Anytime you make the sword, you play the sword for free. So this one could be fun. It would definitely be a lot cheaper, because like maybe 1 or 2 energy, no star. But just a fun design overall. So anyway, those are all the cards I have for today. If you like this, if you'd like to try them out in a mod, let me know and I'll start working on that. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe and let me know in the comments. I'll see you next time.